Let me tell you something most men will never admit: they'd rather disappoint themselves than disappoint other people. And not because they're weak, but because, somewhere along the way, they learned that approval feels safer than authenticity. Every man remembers that moment. The first time he held back a thought he should have said. The first time he agreed to something he didn't want. The first time he felt that quiet sting in his chest, the sting of betraying himself. And from that moment on, life changes. You stop acting from conviction, and you start acting from fear. Fear of being judged. Fear of being disliked. Fear of being alone. But here's the part nobody tells you: trying to impress everyone doesn't make you respected, it makes you invisible. Because when you shapeshift to be liked, nobody ever sees the real you. Not your strength, not your mind, not your values. You just become the version of yourself you think the world will approve of. And the Stoics warned about this 2,000 years ago. Not because they cared about confidence or self-image, but because they understood a deeper truth: the moment you live for the eyes of others, you stop living for yourself. Modern men are drowning in this. You can feel it in the way they talk, the way they dress, the way they post one polished version of their life and hide the rest. You can feel it in the way they panic when they sense someone pulling away as if approval were oxygen. But let's slow down. Let's go deeper. Because this isn't just about impressing people. It's about why men feel they have to. And here's the first truth most men don't want to hear: men betray themselves because approval feels like safety. When a man doesn't trust his own instincts, he searches for validation to replace them. When a man isn't grounded, he borrows the values of everyone around him. When a man doesn't know who he is, he becomes what everyone else wants. This is why so many modern men are exhausted. They're not tired from working hard on meaningful things. They're tired from managing impressions. From constantly scanning other people's reactions. From carrying the weight of pretending. And pretending is heavy. Because every time you act out of alignment, your body feels it. Your chest tightens. Your jaw clenches. Your sleep gets worse. Your focus unravels. Because you can't lie to yourself without your body noticing. The Stoics talked about this in a different way. They said a man's peace dies the moment his values stop matching his actions. That is the real betrayal. Not the kind that happens in one big moment, but the kind that happens one small compromise at a time. You've felt it before. When you said yes, even though you meant no. When you laughed at something you didn't find funny. When you hid your opinion to keep things smooth. When you gave effort to someone who wouldn't have lifted a finger for you. That feeling afterward, the heaviness, the frustration, the tightness behind your ribs, that's your mind reminding you that you just traded self-respect for approval. And here's the part that hurts: the people you're trying to impress usually don't even care. They're not thinking about you. They're not evaluating you. They're not holding you to some standard you can't meet. They're just living their lives. Meanwhile, you're shrinking yourself for an audience that isn't even paying attention. And if you want to know why this hits so hard for men, it's because the masculine spirit was built for honor, not applause. Honor is internal. Approval is external. One makes you stronger. The other makes you dependent. This is why impressing people feels good for a moment, but empties you in the long run. Because you're feeding the image, not the man. The Stoics understood that a man who lives for impressions becomes a prisoner. A prisoner to other people's moods. Other people's opinions. Other people's reactions. That's why they trained themselves to act from principle, not perception. To speak honestly even when it was unpopular. To choose discomfort over self-betrayal. To stand alone if necessary. You want to know who the strongest man in the room is? Not the one everyone loves. The one who doesn't need to be. A man becomes dangerous, in the best way, when he stops performing and starts living. Now here's the turning point. Because this episode isn't about pointing out the problem, it's about helping you walk out of it. And the first step is brutal: stop abandoning yourself to belong to people who don't even know themselves. Let that sink in. Most of the people you're trying to impress don't have a clear identity either. They're projecting, performing, pretending, just like you. You're fighting for approval from people who are also fighting for approval. No one wins that battle. So here's what the Stoics would tell you today: choose character over admiration. Admiration fades. Character compounds. Choose truth over performance. Performance drains you. Truth frees you. Choose presence over perception. Perception changes. Presence strengthens. And above all, choose your own respect over the world's approval. Because when you respect yourself, you naturally stop chasing everyone else. The moment you stop needing to impress people, everything in your life becomes lighter. Your relationships, your decisions, your self-talk, even the way you breathe changes. Because you're no longer negotiating your value in every interaction. You're no longer running a silent PR campaign in your mind. You're no longer watching yourself through imaginary eyes. You're just living, simply, directly, honestly. The way a man is supposed to. And here's the irony: the moment you stop trying to impress everyone, is the moment people actually become impressed. Not by your performance but by your clarity. Your calm. Your self-possession. Your refusal to bend. People can feel when a man is rooted in himself. It changes the room. It changes the dynamic. It changes the respect he receives without ever asking for it. So if you've been betraying yourself just to be accepted, this is your turning point. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Now. Stop tailoring yourself to expectations you never agreed to. Stop abandoning your boundaries to avoid disappointing strangers. Stop sacrificing your inner voice to maintain an image. And stop trying to impress people who don't even live by the standards you're bending over backwards to meet. The Stoics would tell you this: a man's life becomes clear the moment he chooses self-respect over self-betrayal. Your job is not to impress the world. Your job is to live so truthfully that the right people recognize your value and the wrong people disqualify themselves. Let others have approval. You take integrity. Because at the end of your life, you'll realize something powerful: you never regret the moments you stood firm. You only regret the moments you abandoned yourself.